Okay, so how this is going to look like. How the Pacific Trail Resort website that we are going to design based on the concepts that you learned from chapter 8. We are going to make the Pacific Trail Resort device friendly website. So your website will look like this. So in the PC, it will look like this. In the tablet, when it comes to tablet mode, it will look like this. And then when it comes to the mobile mode, did you see the mobile mode? It should look like this. Okay, so this is how you're going to change your website. So have your starting file ready. So our current file, if you open it, which you have downloaded now, if you open it, it should look like this, where it is not mobile friendly or device friendly website. So we are going to make it like a device friendly website. Okay, with the concepts that we learned. Okay, so if you open the file which I have provided you, if you open it, it should look like this. Okay, maybe there may be a little bit color changes here. Okay, have this ready in your folder. Now open this file in Visual Studio Code. Open this file in Visual Studio Code. Open folder and select the current folder. Chapter 7. Okay. Okay. So have your course file ready, source code ready. Now if you open the instructions from the textbook, task 1, we already have all the files ready. So task 1 is complete. Task 2, configure a small single column layout. Open the index.html file, talks editor, view HTML file. Notice that the div is assigned to the wrapper ID has child elements. Okay. So what they're speaking about this, the div ID has all these elements as a child element. Okay. The div covers all these elements starting from header to footer. Okay. So we don't have anything to do in that. We're going to work on the CSS. Configure the CSS, launch a text editor, open Pacific.css styles tree, edit the styles to achieve layout that displays well on small devices using normal flow. Without any floats, we are going to apply the things that we learned in chapter 8. Okay, so first task in task 2 is A1, that is remove the style declarations that configure float and left margin from all selectors. Okay. Remove any style declaration that configure float and left margin. So for that, you have to open your Pacific.css. Okay. And go to wherever you see float, you have to remove that because we are not going to use the float concept. We are going to use either grid or flex. Okay. So here in nav, you have float. So delete that. So why are we doing it? Because if you look at this, the mobile design does not have a multiple column layout, right? In mobile design, we cannot have 2 columns. So to make it as a single column, we are removing the floats. Does it make sense? So we are removing the float. So remove the float here. Everywhere, wherever you see float, you have to remove it. Okay, I don't see any more floats, so only in the sections, and then now I see float, I have removed it. Okay, now the next instruction is you have to edit the styles for the nav element selector, remove with declaration, set padding to 0, configure centered text. Okay, in nav element selector, you have to work on nav element selector and remove those things. Okay, so go to nav element where you see the width, right? So we have to remove the width and set the padding to 0. Why are we doing it? Because we don't have the nav now. The nav, we have just taken it and we are going to put it like this. Okay, so we are removing the nav element and then width element, and also we are going to remove a padding. We're going to set the padding to 0. For the mobile design, we cannot waste the space. So we are setting the padding to 0. Text align can be, and also text align should be centered. So add CSS for text align. Okay, your nav will have these values. Okay. So next instruction. Next instruction number 3, you can see edit the styles for the wrapper ID selector, remove the width, minimum width, maximum width, margin, border, box shadow, all these things that we have put inside the wrapper ID selector. You can see in the wrapper ID selector, we have a lot of these things. And why are we removing it? Because in the mobile CSS, those things are not needed. In the mobile display, those designs, whatever we have given, like a shadow effect, width, margin, all those things, since we have converted it to single column layout, we don't need those things. So we are going to remove all those things. Okay, first thing, we are removing the width, delete, and then removing the minimum width, maximum width, delete, and then border, delete, and box shadow. So we are deleting all those things because we don't need any of these things for our mobile display, mobile design. So the mobile design right now, it has only even margin. They ask us to remove the margin as well. So I'm removing the margin as well. So right now the wrapper ID has only 2 properties, background color and background image. Okay. We have removed all other properties. Next thing, if you read the 4th instruction, code a style rule for the nav li selector. Set 1 pixel dark blue solid bottom border. Why? Look at this. Do you see in the navigation inside between the each links, we have a line that separates each link. So we are adding this margin. So we are going to write the code to add this margin. Okay, border. To add this border, we are going to write the code. So that should be there in nav li selector. So go to nav li. Do we have nav li? We don't have. So create a nav li selector and add this criteria. So creating a the ascendant selector nav li, and then we are going to add border bottom. And then 1 pixel solid, and the color of this border is 002171. Save. Next, 5th instruction, edit the styles for the header element selector. Remove the style declarations for padding and height. Header element selector. Look at the header element selector here. They ask us to remove style declaration for padding and height. So we have this padding right here in this area, header area. See, we are going to make it very simple. Okay. So we are removing the padding and then we are removing the height. Okay. To make effective use of space in the mobile. Okay. So padding top, left and right. Remove all of that. Padding and then what else? And height. We have to remove padding and height. Oh, give me a minute. Padding for padding and height. Remove the style declaration for padding and height. Height can be removed. For padding is okay. So instead of removing it, let's set it as here, edit H1 element selector. Okay. Okay, let's remove it. Remove the padding. Next, edit the fifth instruction, no, sixth one. Edit the styles for H1 element selector. Remove the declaration for font size. Set the top and bottom padding to 0.5 em. So here for the H1 element selector, remove the section, remove the declaration for font size. Okay. So remove this font size because we're going to make it minimal. Okay. And then add padding 0.5 em. Padding top and bottom, it is going to be 0.5 em. Top is going to be 0.5 em. And then padding bottom 0.5 em. Same. Next. Okay. So the next instruction, remove the section element selector and all style declaration. Why? Why are we removing it? Where do we have the section? In the use and activities page, we have the section element where it was like this, right? And when we are going to change it to mobile, would it be good to have 3 column? No, right? So we are removing the section. So the 3 column division was handled by the section element selector. Okay. So we are totally removing the section element selector. We are not going to have that for a mobile design. We are going to have it for the PC design, but we are going to add it later. Right now, we are removing the section element selector totally. Deleted. Remove that section element selector from the file. Okay. Then it should look like, okay. So I think we are done with this. That is the end of the instruction. Save this file. Okay. And then go to your website and try to minimize it. Okay, we have to add media query, then only we can see the result. Okay, as of now, we have done the mobile design, but we have to add media query for the effective implementation. Okay, as of now, whatever you have done here is for mobile CSS. Okay, now let's move on to the next CSS. For that, I'll show you here. Configure the medium layout. So you have to add medium layout. Okay. Display your index.html file in the browser. First narrow, then configure the media query. Okay, configure the CSS, launch the text editor, open Pacific.css style, place your cursor below the existing style, configure a media query that is triggered when the minimum width is 600 pixel or greater. Put the following styles with the media query. So we are going to add media query for the tablet design. Okay, for the tablet design. So hereafter, I'm going to just read the instruction, but just know that next we are going to work on the media query for the tablet display. Okay, let's add the media query. So if you remember how to add media query for CSS in the CSS. Remember the syntax at, right? At media. And what is the minimum width for the tablet design? It should be min width. 600 pixel. Nav UL. So, okay. So first thing, we have created the media query. Okay. Configure the style for nav UL selector. Configure the flex container for a row that does not wrap. Also configure the style to cause the browser to display empty space before and between and after the flex item. Okay, what are we doing here? It's like I'll show you how it is going to look like in the tablet design. Okay, in the tablet design, it is going to look like this. Nav UL selector. So with that single column layout, we are going to make it like this. Okay, again, not in floating mode, but it is going to be like this. So we are going to configure the nav UL selector according to this. Okay, single column. It is going to be display flex. We are going to use display flex for this. Okay, let's create the element selector nav UL. And display flex. As per the instruction for this particular category, we are going to use flex property. If you recall what is flex, it is like customizing the column in one dimension, either column or row, customizing any element in one dimensional layout. Okay. So flex direction, it is going to be row. Agree? So flex direction is going to be row because look at this. We are going to customize it in horizontally, right? So it is going to be row. Flex direction is going to be row. And then no wrapping. Do you see wrapping? Wrapping is not allowed here. Okay. So only single layout. So no wrap. No wrap. And then display empty space before, between, after flex items. For that, we have to say, if we want some space, we have to say the justify content with space around. That will see even space. Do you remember the justify content? If you want equal space around everything, then justify content will be helpful for us to set the space. Here, you have to consider this as a container and these item as the flex items. Okay, we want space around these flex items. Okay, to deal with the space horizontally, the property that we can use is justify content. Justify content can have a lot of properties like flex start, flex end, all those things. Now, in that, we are going to use space around property. Okay, I hope you can relate this. So the next property that we are going to see, configure the styles for nav li selector. Eliminate the bottom border. Okay, nav li selector, we are going to eliminate the bottom border. Nav li, how can we eliminate bottom border? So we can say border hyphen the directions. Here it is bottom and we can say it is none. Okay, next, code style. Code style rule for section element selector, set 2em left and right margin. Left and right margin. So for the section element. Okay. So let's create a section element selector. margin left 2 EM, and then margin right 2 EM. Okay. Modify the HTML and add the flow class. Go to index. Modify the HTML. The flow class will be used to configure Flex content. Edit utes page. Okay, sorry. Go to utes.html. Go to utes.html, and here we are going to add a class. Okay, in the utes page, we have to add a class to handle that section. Okay, section element. So we're going to add this class wherever we have this class. Here, we're going to add it here. Okay, so here we're going to add a div. To add a div tag to handle this flow. Class. Oh. So go to your utes.html. Okay, go to utes.html and add this div tag in the utes.html. Add a class, and the div tag should close after this footer. After this footer. So that means there will be 2 div tags after this footer. Already you have a footer, a div tag for where it will close. It should close. Oh, sorry. Before not here. The div tag should close where the section element ends, because we are doing it to handle that section element, right? So the div tag closes here between the main main and the end of the set. Before, it should be after. So do you see the main element, end of the main tag? So you have to place it after that, and it should be before the footer elements selector. Okay. So you're adding a div tag. Okay, that should be before this, first in, last out. According to the technique, it should come after this. Okay. Okay, and there we are creating a class, and the class name is going to be flow. Add flow. Save. That's fine. Then we can move on to Pacific.css, where we are going to add the instruction or this the properties that we are going to add with this flow. Okay. Now we are going to add, that is class that we have added, right? So dot flow. And to use the flex property, you have to always use display, right? So display flex, and the flex direction is going to be row. So what are we doing here? We are keeping those elements as flex items. So these elements are going to be like a flex item. I'll go to use page. Here, we are going to bring that design back. Right now, it does not have that design because we have to add it, right? You can see whatever we have done there, it got reflected here. But we have to add these questions as a section because it is in the tablet design. Okay, so this white area will be considered as a container, and each questions will be considered as flex items. Okay, so instead of doing floating, we are going to do it in a flex method. Now, since you know how to use flex, now we are going to do it. So we are going to bring this design using flex. Okay, so save this. And now refresh the screen. Now you can see we have achieved the same thing. with these two lines of code, we have achieved that design of bringing it, because this will act like a container and each question will act like a flex items. Okay, so flex direction row. So in horizontal direction, we are just making it to float around. Okay, so that is how we achieve this, but still we have something to do with this because we still have this main, okay? The navigation element, it didn't get changed. So we have to fix that. So you have to remove this in the mobile CSS before the media query. We have to remove this margin left 190 pixel. That is the reason why you see this. Okay, you don't want to have this here. It should look like this. It should look like this. So we have this now area that we have created. So to remove this, you have to delete this margin left 190 pixel. Not only that, you have to remove that margin left wherever we have added. Here also, in main, we have margin left 190 pixel. We have to delete that as well. Okay, in home hero, youth hero, and then activity hero. And then even in main, we have this 190 pixel margin left. That is the reason why we see that space. So if you remove that, now it will look like how it is supposed to look. Refresh the screen. Now you can see. Now we got it. Okay. So we are on track. Okay. This is our goal web. This is how we want to do. This is where we are working towards. It should look like this at the end of this. So we are there. Good. So it looks good both in mobile and then in tablet design. But when it comes to the PC design, it is supposed to have that multiple column, double column layout back. Okay. So we are going to do it through media query. So open your CSS. So the first one, the default one, what we have set it is for mobile design. And then we have set the media query for the tablet design, where we have modified it only whatever makes sense to the tablet. We have added that code inside the media query. Now we are going to give the code for the PC. We are adding media query with the minimum with 1024 pixels for the PC design, where we are working on the wrapper ID selector. The reason is the wrapper ID selector is this one, whatever area that is in the front end before this gray area. This is the wrapper ID. So to right now, it looks like this. Okay, we have to bring it back to this. For that, we are going to add the double column layout, and you can see that there is a border and there is a box shadow. So we are going to bring all those designs back. Okay, so centering page content can be done this, margin auto with 80%, and the border can be added with this, and then box shadow. Box shadow, where if you remember the syntax, 3 pixel radius, horizontal offset, vertical offset, and then the color of the box shadow is 002171. Save. And you will not see much differences. Maybe you may see some differences, but the border will be added, all those things, but still we have to work on all other values. Okay. So next thing, we have to add, next instruction is we have to add nav element selector, configure left text alignment, 1 EM left padding. Okay. So nav element selector, text align left. This is where we are bringing it to that double column layout. Okay. We are putting this, what is this code is for? We are putting the nav element to be in the left of this. We are going to bring that design back. Okay. Nav element will be there in the left. Text align left and padding left. Give the padding of 1 EM. Save. And the next instruction, next get ready for some progressive enhancement with grid layout. We are going to apply the grid layout concept here. In the previous media query, that is in the tablet design, we use the flex concept. Now with the PC design, we are going to use the grid concept. Okay, we're going to use the grid concept. Configure a feature query to check for grid display. Configure the following styles within the feature query. Okay. Use support, configure feature query. So here we're going to do something different. Okay. So we are going to add this supports as like a media query. We're going to add the feature query by using this as a selector. Okay. And then inside that, remember, we have to say display grid to use anything that is associated with the grid. Okay, there we are saying display grid. Inside that selector, we are saying display grid. And with this selector, we are adding the curly brace to add other properties. Configure the styles for nav UL selector. Set the flex direction property to the value column and set the top padding to 1 EM. Okay. Nav UL flex direction. See, why are we doing this? Because we want to achieve this. This is the nav UL thing. Here we want to configure it in column. Okay, flex column. In the column direction, we want to configure it. That's why we are adding that. Flex direction. Column. And the padding top will be 1 EM. Padding top 1 EM. 1 EM. There should not be any space here. So next instruction, notice the grid areas in figure 8.63. I'll show you. Do you see? So we are going to use this as a grid area. You can see a column and row. So what is the row? Column line 1, column line 2. If you look at the picture, you can relate. Column line 1, column line 2, column line 3. And then in row, we have row line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 row lines are there. So we are going to use this as a grid area. We are going to use the grid area concept to configure this. Okay. So add dot hero as a selector. Okay. Let me read the instruction again. Notice the grid area, wrapper ID. Okay. Use hands-on practice 8 as a guide to configuring header, nav, main, and footer area. Configure hero class selector as a grid area shown here. Okay. So let's do that. Add dot hero. And that is going to be assigned with grid area. Code styles for wrapper ID selector. Okay, we have to do that as for a header, everything. For all those things, we have to add that, right? So if you recall, look at this picture once again. Look at this picture once again. You can see the grid area, the header, grid area is going to be the header. And then for the nav, grid area nav. And then main, footer, all those things. Okay. We'll place this now. Okay. So header, we're going to use the grid area concept where it's going to be with the header, associated with the header. And then nav, that is also we are going to design according to the grid area. And then main, main. And then footer area, footer. Okay, so we are done with this, but we are going to map everything inside the wrapper ID selector. We have everything given, but how are we going to map it? That we can do only with the, I'll show it here in this recording as well. Chapter 8. Okay, so if you look at this, you really need to understand this. So how are we going to map? The header is, it has two columns, right? The header area will take two columns, that is header and then header. For now, in this row, how it is splitted, how it is divided. One is nav and the another one is hero. And then here in this row, it is nav and then main. And then here, it is nav and then footer. This is how we are going to connect, okay? So in the wrapper ID selector, we are going to connect it with the header area. So again, I'm repeating, header, header, nav, hero, nav, main, nav, footer. So this is how we are going to connect it with the code. Okay, so wrapper ID selector, display grid. So the grid template here we are connecting it through this grid template. Okay, the first row is going to be header, header. Second row is going to be shared by nav and then hero, the dividing. And the third row will be shared by nav and then main. And the last one will be shared by nav and then footer. Okay. And then we have to also give the grid template property, code style for elected, configure property. So we have to provide that 180 pixel, right? So that will be specified 180 pixel according to that formatting, one formatting. If you look at the units that we can use for this grid, I have given a table in the slide where what kind of units that you can use. That one FR. FR is kind of a unit. It says one like a EM. It will take the current formatting with one value. Okay, so that is 180 pixel. If you relate, what is this 180 pixel is about? If you recall, this 180 pixel is this size that we have added in other ways. In the previous sections, we have added this 180 pixel. Now we're going to do the same thing with the wrapper ID with this method. Okay, So there are a lot of coding that we have done here. Let's refresh the code and see what we got. Save the code. So it seems like we have to add the hero class selector. We have added the hero class selector here, right? We have to add that hero class selector in our HTML. Then only these things will get integrated. So here we have to add the class. We have added the class, right? We have added class. So here we are adding that hero class selector. Save. Do the same thing for use and activities.html. In activities, wherever you have that div tag, add hero. Let's see whether it has any effect on this. Okay, so we are going to add the meta tag in all HTML pages. Okay, so if you remember, we discussed about the meta tag. Okay, where with the viewport will be helpful to do the zooming, scaling. Okay, overall scaling can be done with the viewport tag. So let's add that viewport here in the meta tag. Go to the head section and add the name attribute. Also, okay. So meta name viewport. So inside the title, meta name viewport, character set encoding. No, add a new meta tag. Okay, leave it. Don't disturb that meta tag for character. Let's add a new meta tag. Okay, let's add a new meta tag where add the attribute name. Okay, and the content specify width is going to be device you have to copy and paste and add it in all HTMLs, all other use and activities.html. You have to add it, okay, and copy it and paste and other. Copy and paste it in use.html. Save in activities. Still doesn't support. Okay, only with the PC display device, we are not getting it. Let's see where it went. So there is a typo error here. So instead of minimum width, I said mid width. That is why it didn't recognize. I think now it should be good. Okay, now you can see. So there was a typo error here. So if you followed and if you typed mid width, please change it. It is minimum width, MIN. So because of that only, all those things that we have given here, they didn't get updated. Okay. So now we have received the PC in our old design. And then in the tablet mode, we got the design. And then in the mobile mode, we got this design. So let me recall the code. So for whatever we have done, here we have set this basic code, whatever we have written. We have written the media query only for the tablet design and the PC. So that means here for the mobile, we didn't specify the media query. That means the base code is there as a mobile. That is the best way that you can use. Okay. All the base code will be in the mobile design. So you have to code it accordingly. Okay. So the base code is for mobile design. So whatever now, all those things that you have to set, you can set it in a base of mobile. And then for the media query, for the 600 pixel, the main change is in the nav UL. So instead of this 4 nav, we are going to have the single nav. So that's why in nav UL selector, we have all those things that we have set it as a plus. And then in nav LI, we have to remove that border bottom. That's what we have done here. Okay, border bottom none. And then section element in use and activities, if we have to add the section element. So that's what we have done here in the section. And then the display property has been added for the section element. Okay, and then in the PC design, the major changes, a lot of major changes are there. We have to set that wrapper ID selector to bring back the double column layout design, and then centering page content, all those things we have done. And then for the layout, we have just replaced all those code with the grid concept, where we have set the grid area, and then we have said this is going to be header and header, nav and hero, nav and main, and then nav and then footer area. Okay, we have set it up. Okay, here we didn't set that footer margin left 190 pixel. That is why we had this. This, do you see this? This is because the 190 pixel I didn't delete it in the footer area. So if I deleted that, then that will get fixed. Okay, now it looks all perfect. Okay, if you have followed the instruction from the starting to the end, your website should have all those layouts. So what you have to do, you have in the use page, not in the index page, you have to take the screenshot of use page with 3 sizes. Okay, one with PC, take a screenshot. One with tablet, take a screenshot. One with mobile, take a screenshot. So there should be 3 screenshots for mobile design, PC design, and then tablet design. Okay, so one screenshot of this, one screenshot of this, and one screenshot of this. That will in use page. Why in use page? Because I want you to see whether the section element that was updated. Okay, so 3 screenshots should be that with the zip file.